Recording now.
Hello, my name is Scott Schumacher, and I'm the principal at St. Peter's Lutheran School in Columbus, Indiana, and I have the privilege of introducing today's webinar, Services for Children with Learning Challenges. Today's webinar will feature a best practice at Lutheran Special School and Education Services of Milwaukee. This webinar was prepared by our friends at the school in Milwaukee and is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. Just a few notes here before we begin our webinar. Live webinars are participatory events, and so we appreciate your questions and comments. Feel free to express yourself by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the new LuthEd website, which replaces the old Lutheran School portal. You need not be a member of this to view them. If you like what was shared, we invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty, and this is a great opportunity for professional development. Another great resource of Lutheran schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our school to connect informally. We invite you to share your encouraging stories on the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Let's go ahead and begin our webinar with a brief word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you as our Savior and King, and we give you thanks for this opportunity to serve you in our various schools. We thank you for all Lutheran schools, but especially give you thanks for the work of the Lutheran Special School and Education Services of Milwaukee. We thank you for blessing this institution with a fantastic staff who work hard to draw children and their families to a close relationship with our Savior Jesus Christ. We ask that you continue to shower your blessings upon this school. Give the staff all they need to teach the students entrusted their care. And finally, Lord, we ask that you be with those who are presenting this webinar today, as well as those who are participating in the webinar. May this next hour be a blessing to us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, we welcome Judy Schultz and her crew there from Lutheran Special School and Education Services in Milwaukee as they share the webinar entitled Services for Children with Learning Challenges.
Hi, thank you, Scott, for introducing us. I have a lot of our staff here today, so hopefully it'll be interesting and exciting because you'll be hearing from a lot of different people. And today we plan to focus on some of the history, the background of Lutheran Special School, and then our different programs that we provide. And then next week we have another webinar, and that will be specifically on our Mosaics program. So to start with, I'd like to just share with you a brief history. I'm not going to go through it to bore you or put you to sleep, but the Lutheran Special School actually began 60 years ago by a group of parents who had a hope and a dream. It was their hope that their children could attend a Lutheran school and get an appropriate academic education while also learning about the love of God. You see, the problem was that their children had learning difficulties and special education needs. And at that time, Lutheran schools either didn't have the resources to meet their needs, they chose not to educate these children, they felt that the public schools could do a better job, or they said the children did not fit the educational focus of their school if they were a college prep idea or a college-ready school. So the only option that parents had was a public school education. It was out of that hope, back in 1958, that Lutheran Special School was born. It started with one classroom that had 3 children who had special education needs. And it moved around the city of Milwaukee to whatever Lutheran school happened to have extra space. Today, we have a lot more than just that one teacher that served those 3 children. And these are the people who you'll be hearing from today in the various programs that they serve. This is not the whole faculty of Lutheran Special School, but it is the part you'll be hearing from today. Back when it started in 1958, it was operated by the organization called the Federation of Lutheran Churches. They were the ones that raised the money to support the school. It was in 1971 that Lutheran Special School actually ended up on the campus of Concordia College in Milwaukee. They happened to have an empty house on the campus ground, and the school ended up there. And in 1972, Concordia assumed the ownership of it, calling it Concordia Special School. And at that time, it was used as a lab school for all the students in the teacher education program and the lay ministry program. So it was not uncommon to have 30 or 40 college students helping out, which was a real blessing at that time. In 1982, Concordia moved out of the city to Mequon, where it currently exists. And the special school went with it, but the distance from the city made it difficult for the students to get there. And in 1985, Concordia decided to discontinue the program. At that time, Gene Ladendorf was the district executive for the South Wisconsin District. And he established a task force to determine whether or not there was actually a need for special education in our school. And it was determined that there was a need, and Ken Elwine, who is the principal at Milwaukee Lutheran High School, offered space in Milwaukee Lutheran for the special school to move to. So in 1986, Lutheran Special School was begun with 12 children, 1 teacher, and an aide, with its own board of directors, bylaws, and budget, operating in Milwaukee Lutheran High School, which is where we are till today. It turned out, though, that there were many more parents and children who hoped for a Christ-centered special education. And by the grace of God and the generosity of many congregations, individuals, and organizations, Lutheran Special School has grown into the school and programs it is today. Currently, we operate 5 resource rooms located in Lutheran schools around Milwaukee, serving over 60 students with learning difficulties. We have 2 elementary self-contained classrooms that are located in Milwaukee Lutheran High School. We have a teacher consultant who works in over 20 Lutheran schools throughout South Wisconsin District each year, and her job is to help teachers adapt and modify lessons so that the children can stay in their Lutheran schools and not have to leave and go to the public school. We offer professional development workshops helping teachers learn how to better serve children with learning challenges. We have an art therapist on staff who helps the children with their emotional and social challenges, along with a social worker, as well as a school-to-work program at Milwaukee Lutheran High School, who helps to train our students once they are ready to graduate from the high school, as they have some job training skills to go out into the workforce upon graduating from high school. Lutheran Special School may seem like a small school. We are a school with no walls or building of our own, but we actually impact more students in a year through our classrooms and services than any other Lutheran school in the district. I'd like now to have Nancy Spitzak share with you our self-contained classroom at Milwaukee Lutheran High School.
My name is Nancy Spitzak, and I am a teacher in one of our self-contained classrooms. We have 2 self-contained classrooms, a lower-level classroom with children in grades 3 through 5, and an upper-grade room with children in grades 6 through 8. I am the teacher in the lower-level classroom. We have 12 children in the present time in this classroom. This number can vary, but we do try to keep the number of children around 12. The children I teach have a variety of issues that affect their learning. Their issues can be emotional, behavioral, social, or for some reason, there is just no apparent reason for why they are not progressing. This is why they come to us at the self-contained classroom, because they cannot handle the resource rooms due to their academic delays or behavioral issues. We first begin by assessing our children's learning needs. We work on building up their self-esteem, and we learn to show them love and care, which they have not had in their other schools. Most of the children have not felt success in their years that they have been in school. Once our children are assessed, we work to develop a learning plan for them. This will include a variety of learning materials, which come in very different levels: sensory materials, technology, and anything we can do to help our children feel success. We work together with all the other members of our staff at our school to help our students find success.
My name is Jenny Clemens. I'm the other self-contained classroom teacher. I work with the students who are 6th through 8th grade age students. Nancy pretty much said it all as what we do in the self-contained classroom, but I just wanted to add that we work at their level, at their pace, to provide individualized programs for them, for each student. And we also infuse Jesus into every class that we teach, and in how we handle discipline issues, and how we teach about life and current events. So that kind of sets us apart from other special education programs. We develop the plans for them, and then we implement them to serve their needs, and we utilize a wide variety of visual aids and manipulatives, and we just teach in a kind of a different kind of way.
My name is Alicia Starr. I'm the art therapist at Lutheran Special School, and I do work. I work at the main campus, which currently located at Milwaukee Lutheran. But I work very closely, really with all our staff, and especially the two ladies that you just heard from, really trying to help support the kids in their classroom, and just in general addressing mental health needs. As far as art therapy, if you're not familiar with that, as I kind of like to describe it, just really an alternative form of therapy where we use art kind of as an intervention, a way to help build a relationship, a way for our children to be able to communicate. And again, like I said, focusing on mental health needs, whether that's emotional, social, spiritual, it kind of covers really just a wide variety of things. And the art is a really great way for our kids with special needs to have a way to communicate. Not all of them are very good, I would say, at communicating verbally, or maybe they struggle to kind of verbalize what it is that's going on. And so I just try to help the classroom teachers and try to help these students that are going through kind of whatever it is that they're dealing with. Just for example, having a child maybe that's having a rough day, behavior issues, problems with another student. A lot of times I try to prioritize them if there is a particular need that needs to be attended to, so that we can see, you know, why the child is acting this way, or maybe what's really going on at a deeper level that is either bothering them and kind of disrupting their ability to learn, which in turn hope is helpful to the teachers as well. Like I said, we kind of just all work together. And primarily, I do see the students one-on-one. Like I said, it's as needed. I try to prioritize as far as which students just kind of need the most care and the most help. Let's see here. Another thing that I also work closely with is our end-of-the-year art program, which we do have another webinar coming up more specifically about that. But at the end of the year, we do have a show we call Awesome Kids, Awesome Art. And this is a really neat, just a really neat way for the kids to really be able to do something a little more independently. This year, our theme is centered around fashion, and so we are incorporating that into our classrooms, and I'm incorporating that also just into art sessions with the students. And it's really neat just to see what they come up with, to see a venue where they can just really be creative, create their own project, and I try to work with them all individually so that they can all really just have a sense of pride and empowerment, and it's something that they can be creative, they can do something long-term, put a lot of work and focus into. So I do spend a lot of time working with the kids as well on that. Another person I work very closely with is our social worker, Darlene Clens, and I am going to turn it over to her now.
I began as an aide in 1977 at the little house at Concordia, and I worked with Mrs. Schultz, our principal, and for a while I was very happy with the position there, but I soon learned by their behavior that both of us together, there were still things that we needed to do, and I began to go back to school specifically so I could serve the children at Lutheran Special School. I became a social worker, and there's 5 functions of a school social worker. They are mostly about building relationships with the student, with their families, with their teachers, with other school personnel, with social agencies when it's appropriate, and even building positive relationships with the Lutheran community. Social workers must be able to develop a method of service which fits the particular structure within a specific school. With this in mind, my role might look very different from other social work programs at other schools. We are a special education Lutheran school, a Christian school, but our very foundation that transpires in this school is a result of our Christian faith. Each of us believe that God has called us to this time and to this place, and that simply means that all faculty and staff have the same understanding of our values and our goals within this institution. Because we began with a staff of 2 and 11 children, over the years we have grown in the student population and personnel. We now work with children all races, all religions, and all special needs backgrounds. and each of us have grown specifically in time according to the needs of this school. We see ourselves as ministry, an educational ministry that teaches Jesus Christ. As stated earlier, the social worker should be able to provide services that bring all of the needed personnel together to work in the best interest of the student. Together with the principal, teacher, personnel, students, families, and other interested parties, we coordinate whatever programs best suit the situation. At LSSES, some of my responsibilities are to prevent behaviors from becoming problems. I'm successful sometimes, not always. Provide children the level of services that they need to succeed in learning new behaviors, and provide another environment so that their behavior does not interrupt their own or the learning of other children. Behavioral plans include understand the meanings of behaviors, understanding what might have caused the behavior to happen, and understanding how to respond to the behavior so the child can learn another behavior, but also learn to use it in the classroom. I would like to turn this time over to Benjamin.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Chandler. I'm the Visual Arts Coordinator at the Lutheran Special Schools. I work on campus, and I also work in various resource rooms across the Milwaukee area. It's sort of my job to help integrate art into the other subjects. We know that not every kid can express themselves through numbers and words really efficiently, so using visual arts is another way for them to get out their ideas and use their skills and show that they have the knowledge that they do, as well as express themselves. One of the ways, the big important ways that we do that is through the Mosaics project that Alicia Starr, our art therapist, mentioned earlier. I know Mosaics looks like it stands for something, but it's called Mosaics because a mosaic is, a collection of various different pieces to form a whole cohesive picture, little tiles or other little elements, and we kind of see our students in the same way, as these all very different tiles that all come together to create this unified, beautiful thing. And the main thrust, the end result of the mosaics is what also Alicia mentioned earlier, the Awesome Kids, Awesome Art program. You can see some of the things in the slide right there, or that one too. The first Awesome Kids, Awesome Art program was a docent project where the students went to the Milwaukee Art Museum and they picked out a piece that they really liked and did a sort of reactionary piece of artwork for it, and then they were able to be a docent, a tour guide in the museum and present the art, and also talks about their own art too. And there's some other sorts of things that the program has done. They did puppetry one year, that was last year actually, where they built their own puppets and wrote their own puppet shows, and then had the puppet shows filmed and were then presented at the end of the year program, which we'll see in the next slide. You can see the kids sort of presenting some of their, this is at the Milwaukee Public Museum, or Milwaukee Art Museum, and they're presenting their end of the year projects to the parents. I believe the Milwaukee Art Museum let them rent out a special space in the museum just so that they could do that. And so that was that's really the main thrust of the Mosaics project. And if you want to learn more, there'll be another webinar about Mosaics, which will feature another Chandler, but not Benjamin, but William Chandler, talking about that. Yeah. Don't turn that dial. Now, let's talk about our resource rooms, and I'd like to introduce one of our colleagues, Kim.
My name is Kim Gruber, and I am the resource room teacher at Mount Calvary in Milwaukee. As you can see on the slide, we have 5 different resource rooms that are placed throughout the Milwaukee area. Some are right within the city of Milwaukee, others are placed kind of on the outside in suburbs of Milwaukee. What we do in the resource room is we service students who struggle in the regular education classroom, typically in reading, language arts, and math. Each student receives accommodated instruction designed to meet his or her needs. Instruction is provided at the grade level he or she is working, which will usually differ from the general grade level curriculum. This helps build their confidence while we continue to help them raise their skill levels. Students come to the resource room for various subjects. Some come for reading, English, math, and spelling, while others may only come just for math. Typically, we have between 9 to 15 students in the resource room, not all at one time. They come and go all day long. When their classroom does reading, they will come to us for reading, and then we will provide the instruction at their level for them at that time. Students are otherwise completely included in the general curriculum, and we work with the teachers to make accommodations as needed in areas of science and social studies. As mentioned earlier, the Mosaic program comes to each of our resource rooms once a month. We typically have some kind of art project activity that deals with something the students have been working on in the resource room. We are also a resource for our schools. If teachers need some advice or they need to know how to accommodate, we are there to help them do those things, not only just for our students that they share with us who come to the resource room, but also for other students that they might have within their classroom. We also can provide suggestions and some support for students who may be struggling with emotional or behavioral issues also.
I'm going to address the question about the fee for the resource room students. We have kind of a complicated fee structure. Our resource room students, at a couple of our schools, the school pays us a fee of $60,000, and we place the teacher in the building and provide the programming, but they do all the accepting of the children and they get the tuition money for the children. In some of our other resource rooms, our earlier ones, we placed 6 of the 12 children in a resource room there and received the tuition and fees for those 6. In exchange, the host school pays us $22,000 to serve 6 of their students as well. So we do get tuition or we get direct billing from the school that we're serving. We're trying to go to the model where all the schools pay us the $60,000. It just makes our audits a lot less complicated rather than having all these different fee structures and things like that. We are also part of the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program and the Special Needs Scholarship Program in Wisconsin. The Choice Program has been in existence since about 1995, and we currently get $7,323 for each low-income child that qualifies. In the Special Needs Scholarship, this is the first year for that, and they opened a door for us last year that we will not have going forward, where last year they allowed us, our existing students who qualified could get the Special Needs Scholarship for $12,000. Going forward, anybody who qualifies will have to have been in attendance in a public school the year before and have been denied open enrollment during this current school year in order for us to get the funds for that. So we have a lot of different fee structures, and it's pretty complicated, but so far it has worked for us. And the parameters for accepting students, we accept students individually. There is no set category of special needs students that we serve. We take each one as they come to us, whether or not we feel that we can meet their needs academically and behaviorally. If they are in the choice program or the special needs scholarship program, we have to blanketly accept them. We can tell parents what we do, who we are, and what we expect, and how we will serve the children, but we cannot deny a child's placement because it's done through a lottery system, and so everybody who walks in the door, if we have openings, we have to accept. So those are, our program is a little bit different. I know St. Louis has a similar program, and so does Lutheran Special Ed Ministries out of Detroit, but we're a little bit different in our fee structure and who we can serve and how we serve them and the programs that we provide.
All right, my name is Jenny Stoneworth. I'm a teacher consultant for the organization. My role is to go into area schools to assist the teachers in working with students who may be struggling with academics or behaviors. I spend time assessing students individually to find a baseline of their strengths, their weaknesses. Then I check their permanent files for any history that might be pertinent. I do classroom observations for them and kind of get a snapshot of how that student is functioning in the classroom setting. I take all that information then, gather together. I write up a report and I make recommendations off of what the things that I've seen. I share those recommendations with the teacher, with the parents, principal, pretty much anybody involved with that student's educational process, sometimes daycare providers and other people also. I work with preschool students all the way through high school in a variety of the Lutheran schools in the Milwaukee area. If a student is struggling maybe with behaviors in the classroom, I like to create a behavior intervention plan to communicate with everyone. I really like that behavior intervention plan because it itemizes the disruptive behaviors that we're seeing, and it gives specific accommodations for those behaviors. The plan breaks it down, the behaviors into 3 different parts: what the problem behavior is, what the replacement behavior is that we'd like to see instead, and what accommodations can be made in the classroom to help obtain those behaviors. Another tool I like to use is the task analysis, where I break down challenging skills for a student so that the teacher can teach it in a really succinct way. A task analysis sheet is given to parents, to teachers, and it documents what was worked on so far and what's going to be worked on in the future. An example of this would be, I had a student in kindergarten who was having a hard time learning letters and getting the sounds confused and which letter was which. So we just broke it down, went back to letter by letter. We tested which ones that student already knew, and then we just picked the next letter. You know, maybe they didn't know their letter B yet, and all week long the parent and the teacher would work on that letter B and really just saturating the student with that letter until they felt like the student knew that letter pretty well, and then we generalized it with the other letters that they had already learned, and we just build up their alphabet that way. My goal is really to put tools in the hands of teachers and to get a specific path to follow in working with students who are struggling. Sometimes it gets confusing for teachers when they're seeing behaviors or they're seeing academic areas that students are struggling with, to really pinpoint what areas to work on. So I get to be the eyes and the ears in the classroom for a little while and find that for them. It's really exciting for me to spend the time to find resources that the teachers don't have the time to find. My position allows me to attend conferences and classes and other things to stay in the know on recent research and practices that then I can share with teachers and help them incorporate those practices into the classroom. So like I said, I kind of get to be the eyes and the ears for the teacher outside of the classroom when they don't have the time to put into that. Then I can do that for them and just help them put that into practice.
As you can tell, we've grown a lot since 1986. When Concordia told us in 1985 that we were going to have to leave and they were closing the door on us, it looked like it was maybe the end of something we thought was pretty good at that time, but God definitely had bigger and better plans for us. And so moving to Milwaukee Lutheran High School and being in the city opened doors to enable us to provide a continuum of special education services, from the least restrictive teacher consultant program to the most restrictive, our self-contained classrooms. The problem is the needs have not diminished at all. And our mission has been that children who want to attend a Lutheran school can attend a Lutheran school, whether or not they have a special education need or not. We felt strongly that if we believed in Lutheran education, we believed in it for all children, not just those who learn in a certain way. And so our board has been very aggressive in wanting to meet the needs of children. We've often acted on faith, not knowing where the money was coming from. Our budget this year is just under $1 million, of which we have to raise approximately $500,000. God has continued to bless us as we work very hard to do that. But we've reached a point in our future, in our existence right now and in our future, where Milwaukee Lutheran High School needs the space that we occupy in their building. They are growing. We would like to grow. this past school year, we had over 90 inquiries for placement in our programs that we could not meet because we only served 24 in our 2 self-contained classrooms. And because we have the Mosaics program, which is a unique art-based program, we need unique spaces in order to do that. So we've embarked on a capital campaign to raise $5.6 million. Milwaukee Lutheran has given us land on their property for us to build. But needless to say, the challenge is great. We move forward in faith, knowing that God has a plan for us, and whether it be in this building or He opens the door in another building, we are open to whatever He has in store, since we have to be out of the building at the end of this current school year. We look at it as an opportunity like it was back in 1985 and 86 for us to grow and to be able to do even more and more things and to serve more children. Anybody have anything they'd like to share or add? Or I have to tell you, we have been really, really blessed by the staff at special school. I did a presentation on Sunday, and I was asked about, isn't there burnout on your staff? Well, I think there is burnout on a daily basis, but it's not a job, it's a calling. And these people around this table have been here for a long time. I didn't think to add up all the years that we've worked at this, but they are a special group of people who have a special love for these kinds of children, and we couldn't do it without them. Mark, regarding your the possibility of expanded services, you know, if you wait for the money, somebody asked me that, if you wait for the money, you'll never do it. It is a commitment that you make, and then you move forward, because there is no shortage of children today, and I am against children in special needs programs in our resource rooms having to pay an extra fee for having a special education to support the cost of a resource room. I think it should be part of the whole school curriculum and just part of who you serve, and so you figure out how to make it work that way. So I encourage you, I pray for you that you can be able to pull something off in your part of the world so that you can serve those children, because with that many schools, I'm sure there are a number of children who could benefit from that kind of help. We'd love to have you come up and visit. I will tell you, our accommodations are not the greatest. I wish we had some real life pictures of what it is that we live in and the place we exist right now, but it's not about the facility, it's about what you do in it. And so we'd love to have you come visit us. We just had a group of special educators from India who came and spent part of a day with us to learn about what we do. And actually one of them happened to be a Lutheran pastor who graduated from Concordia in India. So that was a pretty neat thing to be able to share.
Judy, there's a question here that Mark asked also about, with LSEM. I know that we never want to necessarily replicate something that's out there. So maybe could you talk about maybe why you started your own program and maybe didn't use LSEM?
I think we started ours before them, but I won't go into it.
Probably.
They were Lutheran School for the Deaf back when they started, and then they morphed into that. They came to us a long time ago. I've been at this a long time, so I know the history here. They came to us and wanted us to be a part of them. But our board didn't see any advantage to having a parent organization when we would have had to raise the money anyhow for our programs here in Milwaukee, and recognizing that each community is unique and they have unique needs and unique way of approaching things. They just didn't feel that they wanted to be controlled by somebody not in state and on site, and just didn't really see any advantage to having anybody like that. And I'm not saying they don't do good things or it couldn't work for somebody else. We just had this history that went way back and felt that we knew what we needed in this area.
Right. Well, Judy, I really believe that your model is a great model that so many other places in our country could follow or at least learn from. And Mark Meal has commented on there in Fort Wayne. I just think there's great opportunities there. And I hope that you and Mark can definitely connect moving forward. And when we post this webinar in the archives, I know that other people are going to be looking at this as well, because you have a great thing going there in Milwaukee.
Is Greg Rayberg still in Fort Wayne?
I'm not sure. Mark might know more than I would on that. Yep.
Well, I don't know what his role is. He used to teach across the hall from us many years ago, and he had a real heart for our kids. And I know he's got a special needs sister that he's been responsible for. So he and John Milkey, is John Milkey your district exec?
Yep, still there. Yep.
Yep, John. I've known John for a long time, and he has a heart too. So there should be something you can do in the Fort Wayne area with those two guys supporting and being there as background help.
Judy, just one maybe a follow-up question here before we wrap things up here. It sounds like because of the voucher rules in the Milwaukee area, again, you have to take any student who is interested in your program, via the lottery, of course, because you have more who want to be there than you have space for. And I assume that those who are applying know, the physical plant. For example, if someone needs aquatherapy, you might not have access to a pool, maybe you do.
We don't use it for that, unfortunately.
Okay. That there might be some of those things that I suppose that a family inquiring about the school would obviously know up front, right?
Yes. When you do the sit-down meeting with them and talk about what you do and what you provide, you go
Right.
over that, and then they can make the decision.
Right.
How does the money follow a kid? In the special needs scholarship program, it does follow the child wherever they go, as long as they continue to qualify based on federal guidelines for determining whether they have a special education need. It will follow them. If they lose that, if they go in for a re-eval and they lose the special ed label, they can revert back to a choice eligible student if they meet the qualifications for income and residency. So that was one of our concerns, is if they moved over into the special needs scholarship, that if they transitioned out, they would not have any money anymore to go to our program. And government special ed money, I'll tell you, I just finished an audit today for the choice program, or our first of the 4 audits we have this year. I would stay away from government money as much as I could if I could. It's opened a door for us to serve kids who would otherwise be served, but the regulations and the hoops make it worth it for us to share the gospel with these children, but it really is, I don't take any more government money than we need to exist.
So one question, too, here for you. So you have resource rooms in 5 Lutheran schools in the area. Would you be able to expand that to more schools if they would be willing to, contract the services from you?
You bet. Yep.
Okay.
We'd have to find the teachers, but Concordia is doing a teacher ed program for special needs, and so there are people coming out. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's the money that's, everybody wants our services and our programs. It's just the money that's held them back. If we gave it away, which we did to begin with, everybody would take it. It's just a matter of funding it.
Right. Very good. Well, are there any final questions here for Judy and her team before we wrap it up?
You need to come back next week. Next week will be, not that this wasn't interesting and exciting, but our art program is really cool. What we do with the kids and the programs that we've had have been really neat, and it's using the art for the academics and the growth, not just academics, but the emotional, behavioral, life skills kinds of things with our kids as well.
Judy, without question, what you just presented today and what you're going to present next week are powerful practices that are truly transforming the lives of young people. And so thank you for your work there at your school, and keep doing what you're doing. Absolutely. So once again, we thank Judy Schultz and her crew of teachers there at Lutheran Special School of Education Services in Milwaukee. And we thank our friends from Concordia, Wisconsin for helping produce this webinar as well. And as Judy mentioned, there is another webinar that they will be presenting next week, more about their art program. And so same time and, same access information. And so we hope you can join us for that as well. So God's blessings to you all as you continue to serve our Savior as professional educators here in our Lutheran schools. Take care.
You as well. Thank you.